Welcome back to The Daily Poem here on the Close Reads Podcast Network. I'm David Kern. Today's poem is by Louis MacNeice, a British poet who lived from 1907 to 1963. He was from Northern Ireland and was actually a member of a group of poets that included W.H. Auden, Stephen Spender, and Cecil Day Lewis. And the poem that I'm going to read today is called To Posterity. This was sent over by a friend and is a great poem, I think, for the springtime. It goes like this. When books have all seized up like the books in graveyards, and reading and even speaking have been replaced by other, less difficult media, we wonder if you will find in flowers and fruit the same color and taste they held for us, for whom they were framed in words. And will your grass be green, your sky be blue, or will your birds be always wingless birds? That's the whole thing. It's a short poem. That is only 7 lines long. If MacNeice died in 1963, then this poem couldn't have been written after that, obviously. Which means that even then, 56 years ago, people were concerned about the fading away of books, but the onset of even less media. Certainly TV and radio and such things were rapidly growing in popularity then. And certainly in these comments, I could focus on this being a poem about the warning of those sorts of media. But what I'm most fascinated by in this short little poem is the way that it contemplates the nature of language. So he says, we wonder, first of all, who is the we? I wonder. But we wonder if you will find in flowers and fruit the same color and taste they held for us, for whom they were framed in words. Will your grass be green, your sky blue? Green and blue certainly being names of things that we experience. And so as other media come on, as we learn, as we forget the value, rather, of language, the values, not the value like moral value, but the definition, the way we use language. Well, the way we use language changed such that we have no way of explaining beautiful things anymore. And 50 plus years is, probably not even enough time for us to know totally what the media that we have now is going to do to our books and to the way we think about language, the way we speak with one another. Certainly these things are going to be cyclical. But poetry preserves language. It preserves the nature of language. Perhaps more than any other form, it preserves the nature of language. That's why this podcast is important to me. It preserves the function of language to help us remember that which is beautiful. And so, he equates our ability to speak of things, our ability to use language to describe something with color and taste, with very different senses. So there's this fascinating question of the way our senses interact with one another. If we can't name something, will our other senses, the experiences of our other senses, be different? This is a great example of the kind of things poets think about, I think. But it's also a great example of the kind of things children ask. I remember as a little kid wondering, do you taste things the same way I do? Do we use the same name to describe different tastes? For example, does sour mean what it means to you? Does green, maybe we all see the same thing as green, but does green look the same to you as it does to me? I remember thinking about these things when I was, 7, 8 years old. I think that's the beautiful thing about a poem like this is these are the imaginative expression of questions that are both simple and complicated at the same time. Questions that anybody can think about, but also that poets spend their life thinking about very deeply. So that's why I like this poem. Before I read it one more time, though, I want to mention the sort of framing of the poem, because I mentioned earlier, who is the we? But what seems clear is that this is his age speaking to a future age. So the we is his present time. Perhaps even you can narrow it down to him and his circle of poets or whoever it is. But it's that age speaking to a future age. So there's something sort of not apocalyptic, but sort of like what you might find in the great science fiction novels, the short stories. Questioning the way we live our life, the way simple everyday things, the simple things that our senses are experiencing, are experienced in the future, and the wanting to preserve those things. And that's why, poetry as an act of preservation is so important. So one more time, here is Louis MacNeice's To Posterity. When books have all seized up like the books in graveyards, and reading and even speaking have been replaced by other less difficult media, we wonder if you will find in flowers and fruit the same color and taste they held for us for whom they were framed in words. And will your grass be green, your sky blue, or will your birds be always wingless birds? This has been The Daily Poem. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another poem for you.